Tampa Bay 07, coming at you with another video. First and foremost, I want to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone that rule well. And salutations to you brothers pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth. Alright, in today's lesson, we're going to get into the so-called Jewish people, who the Jewish people are according to the scriptures, and also who, when you're dealing with like the Illuminati, and if you know anything about the Illuminati and those international bankers that sit at the top, the Rothchilds, these people are actually written about in the scriptures, and we're going to get into who these people are according to the scriptures, because believe that these people, when you think about it, there's nowhere in the world these people could be such an influence, we'll put it that way. These people could be such an influence in the whole planet Earth that, that the Most High wouldn't write about them, Just like with America. America has so much influence on the earth, but, some people would say, America's not in the Bible. Certain things like that aren't in the Bible. And there are other events in the Bible that's not so major in comparison to these events, You have certain events, you have smaller events that took place in comparison to things like the transatlantic slave trade, also known inside the Bible as basically the diaspora, of the kingdom of Judah, who were scattered on the four corners of the earth. That was spoken about, throughout the whole, the prophecies in the Bible. He was going to be scattered on the four corners of the earth, That was spoken about, also in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, And then we was going to go into captivity into a foreign land that us or our fathers didn't know. So something that major, the transatlantic slave trade, that was written about in the scriptures, And also America and its influence on the planet Earth, it was heavily written about in the scriptures, talking about Babylon, the great mystery Babylon, that place Sodom and Egypt, It is written all over the Bible because it has such a huge influence. How much more the people that's running this demonic kingdom, what about their influence? They have a huge influence on the planet Earth. If anything, they pretty much run the whole entire planet Earth. So it'd pretty much only be right that they be written about in the scriptures as well, And so with that, we're gonna get into this here lesson, and we're gonna, pretty much point them out throughout the scriptures, So nevertheless, we're gonna jump into this in Genesis chapter 36. We're gonna start at the top. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Okay. So we have a lesson, we have actually a couple of lessons to do on Esau and who Edom is, But a quick little rundown. Esau is Jacob's twin brother, You have Abraham. Abraham had Isaac. Isaac had two boys. He had Jacob and Esau, And Jacob and Esau is pretty much the the good guy, bad guy of this movie. They're the main characters of this whole movie. Everything revolves around them, Really everything revolves around Jacob, but, Esau plays his counterpart in this movie, Can't have a good guy without the bad guy, can't have a bad guy without the good guy type of deal, You need a Joker to have a Batman and a Batman to have a Joker, But nevertheless, these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Okay, so Edom is an interchangeable name in the scripture for Esau, Esau being the main person, and Edom being more or less his children, how they have Jacob and then you have Israel, Although Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and then Esau's name was also changed to Edom, Esau being wasted away as his skin pigmentation was, he was missing his skin pigmentation, he lacked melanin in his skin, so his name was called Ashashua, wasted away as he. Now Edom means red, His name was changed to red because he wanted that same red pottage. He came in and he wanted that, basically how, if you see Edomite eating their meat, he wanted his meat that looked just like him pretty much. It was red like him. He wanted that same red meat just like he do today, But nevertheless, when we're talking about, whenever you see like Edom, Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom, Idumeans. Whenever you see this is talking about, the kids, the nation, Edom is a nation, But it says, and Esau, this is the individual, Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan. Now I'm not good with these names, so forgive me for all of that. But Abda, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholabama, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister to Nebajoth. Now Ishmael is the progenitor of the how do you call them, the Arabs, pretty much. You know, when you see all the Arabs, they pretty much come all from Ishmael. Okay, and Abda bare Esau, Eliphaz, and Beshemath bare Ruel, and Aholabimah bare Jaish and Jalam and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. Okay, now this is if you was to go back up in here, you see there is Jaish, Jalam, and Korah. He has those three, and you have Ruel, and you have Eliphaz. So Esau has 5 sons here. Okay, and Esau took wives and his son. Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance and all he got in the land of Canaan, and went into a country from the face of his brother Jacob. For their riches were more than they might dwell together in the land wherein they were strangers, could not bear them because of the cattle. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Okay, so this is giving you, you know, the breakdown and the key right here to how you can break down the scriptures. You know, one of the big things to breaking down these scriptures is to be able to translate these names and understand who these people are, you know. So here they're giving you a big secret here. So you could translate this throughout the Bible whenever you see these different names. So wherever you see Mount Seir, it says, verse 8, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Okay, so they're telling you whenever you see Mount Seir, Esau, or Edom, you know, they're all talking about the same thing, you know. And then also here it says, these are the generation of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. So again, you might see Edomites, Esau, Edom, Mount Seir, or also Idumea, which means, Idumea means Edom in Greek as well. So these are all different names that you could find to denote Esau, you know. And there's also, you know, the wicked and stuff like that. So, but let me see. Where else did I want to read down to? I think verse 12. Yeah, verse 12. Okay. Verse 10. These are the names of Esau's son: Eliphaz, the son of Abda, the wife of Esau; Ruel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Abda, Esau's wife. Okay, so this is where we wanted to get down to. We had to go through all these here names, just trying to give you some genealogy. But nevertheless, we wanted to get down here to verse 12. So now I went through these names here for a reason. We'll bring them back up shortly. But we getting on here, you know, generations and backgrounds of certain people. You know, Esau being the father of the Edomites, you know, also known as Mount Seir in the scripture. He was the father of, it was Eliphaz. Now Eliphaz had a son named Amalek. Now Amalek is who you would know as the modern day Jewish people. This is where they come from the tribe of Amalek. Now there's a so-called racist term that, you know, that so-called Jewish people get offended by, called kike. You know, whenever you'll hear the word kike, you know, and in the scripture, you know, they have a how do you say it, more or less like a suffix of a word, you know, that they add onto a word, the ending part of a word, to denote a group of people, you know. So you'll say like Israel, right? So then you'll say Israelite lights, you know. You know, Israel being the place, Israelites being the people, you know, kind of like you have America, Americans, China, Chinese type of deal like that. So Amalek being, you know, the person, but then the people or the sons of, you know, the nation would be called Amalekites, you know. So this is where they get that derogatory term kikes from. So another thing about those people, they know who they are, you know, and they know who we are, but they don't want to be known for who they are. So this is why they get offended when you call them kikes. You know, this is where that derogatory term come from a, you know, kike. You just calling them by their name, you know. It's like they don't want to be called Esau or Edom. This is why they always try to change their name over to being Israel, you know. But nevertheless, Amalek was Esau's grandson, you know. It was one of his son's sons. So giving a background to Amalek's bloodline and where he comes from, you know, where these so-called Jewish people come from. These so-called Jewish people, they're pretty much Esau, you know. They're a son of Esau, you know. Just like saying that, you know, the tribe of Judah, you know, they come from Jacob or they come from Israel, you know. Yeah, you might be a so-called a Judite, but at the same time, you're still an Israelite, you know. That would be your big main, you know, your main progenitor family, you know, and then you break down to your smaller tribe. Same here, you know, the Amalekites, they're part of the house of Esau, of Edom, you know. That was one of Esau's grandsons. You know, so these so-called Jewish people, okay, they're still a part of Esau. They're a group of the Edomites as well, you know. So sometimes you might hear us calling them, you know, Amalek or Amalekites and stuff like that. And sometimes you might just hear us refer to them as Edomites, you know. But nevertheless, they're pretty much like the same thing, you know. An Amalekite is an Edomite, but an Edomite doesn't necessarily have to be an Amalekite, you know. Kind of the same way like with an Israelite, you know. A Judite is an Israelite, but not all Israelites are Judites, you know. So, you know, and like those people over there like to do nowadays, they like to say they all Jews, you know. But to be a Jew, you just coming from the tribe of Judah. That's just one of the 12 tribes, you know. All of the Israelites are all, you know, Israelites, depending on, you know, what role, regardless of which of the 12 tribes they come out of, they still are Israelites, you know. But nevertheless, you know, Amalek is still an Edomite, you know. We're going to get into our next scripture. Over to Exodus. We're going to just get here. It says, Exodus chapter 17, verse 14. I'm going to start at 13. It says, and Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword, you know. So basically, you know, they going out, they're pretty much coming out of Egypt, you know, and they're going on their conquest, you know. When you read, you know, going from the Exodus out of Egypt, you know. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Yahweh said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Okay? So here early off, you know, way early off in the Bible, the Most High is showing his disdain and his utter hatred for, you know, Amalek, you know, and which, you know, you don't really see that being portrayed much in, you know, later on in Scripture, but it just translates into Esau, you know. It's the same deal with the Edomites, you know. Like I said, Esau is the whole main house. Amalek's just one of the tribes, you know. And Amalek is pretty much like the worst of the tribes, you know. It's pretty much like they're like the head of the whole household, you know. Amalek, the so-called Jewish people, they run the whole thing for Esau, you know. But it says, you know, like just like in modern day today, it's the same thing. You just know them by different names, you know. You have all these so-called Caucasians or white people, or, you know, the European nations and stuff like that, the so-called Western world people, you know. But they all run by these same so-called, or these same international Jewish bankers, you know. Nevertheless, it says, And Moses built an altar and called the name of it, I don't know how that's pronounced, Yahweh Hassani or something like that. For he said, because Yahweh hath sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Again, like I said, the Most High here is showing his utter disdain and hatred for Amalek, you know. He says up here in verse 14, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heaven. And then he also says down here, he says, Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation, you know. And you still seeing that play out on the planet Earth today. Again, you know, like I did in another lesson, breaking down about, you know, so-called racism and stuff like that, you know. Racism isn't about a skin color, you know. To put it in layman's terms, you know, so if you don't quite understand the terms we use by using these names, white people don't like black people because black people have black skin or dark skin, you know, because we have the same color skin as, you know, Africans, you know, but yet the Africans can come over here and get business loans and startup grants and all this and that from the U.S. government, you know, from the so-called white man with ease, no problem. They set up stores, no problem, you know, and they just came freshly into this country, you know, and only been here a couple of years. They get startup plans and all kind of stuff, but yet we're born here generation after generation. We can't get any kind of real assistance to help us better ourselves, you know, and we're the same color as them. And the same with, like, you know, the so-called Mexicans. They're about the same color as you know, some of the Arabs that come over here, some of the Pakistani people that come over here, or some of those Indian people from over in India. They come over here looking between the colors of so-called black people and so-called Hispanics, and yet they all still get opportunities to grow and thrive over here in America. They're not harassed like any of the tribesmen, you know. And the point I'm making is they're all the same skin color as, you know, the tribes are. So Esau, or the so-called white man, does not like us because it's not the fact that we have this color skin that he don't like us for, you know, because like I said, there's other people with that color skin that doesn't make a difference to, you know. It's a spiritual thing. It's something that goes all the way back to when they were in the womb, you know. Jacob and Esau was in the womb. They was fighting in the womb. The Most High said he was going to separate them. Two nations was going to be separated from Rebecca's womb, two different manner of people, you know. And, you know, they was going to always be opposed from one another, you know. And Amalek, like I said, is a grandson to Esau, you know. And here the Most High said he was going to have war with Amalek from generation to generation. It was going to be perpetual, going on and on and on, you know. It was just going to be from you know, from that point in time all the way up into this point in time. And again, as you see, like I said, these international bankers, if you know anything about the so-called Illuminati and these international bankers, depending on how far you are in your little rabbit hole digging, you know, you'll come to find out, you know, who these people are, you know. Once you find out who these people are and you do a little research on these people and kind of study these people and stuff a lot, you know, you start finding out certain things, you know, but none of these things really make sense until you compare their profile unto these people that, you know, we're bringing out here in the scriptures, and then it all makes sense to why they're doing what they're doing, and why would it make sense for these people to even try to obtain anything like what they're trying, you know. For instance, if you all know anything about Albert Pike, you know, Albert Pike had created a plan for World War One, II, and III way before World War One even was even thought about, you know. I believe that he even died before World War One even took place. So this man had constructed a plan that he would never even see come to pass, and he was so adamant in his plan and knowing that his plan was going to work that, you know, he stood by his plan. Not only that, he convinced other people beneath him to keep his plan going even after his death, to get an end result that he wouldn't see because he would already be dead. So what benefit would he be reaping, you know? And he was being commissioned by these Rothchilds, you know. He was put forth to put this thing in place by the Rothchilds, you know. But this was, you know, years, like hundreds of years, you know. This is a long time coming, you know. Nobody could even think about none of this type of stuff. But now all of a sudden they have their plan still in motion, you know. Who would plan for something like that? You know, regular people in their regular mind can't even plan for like next week, let alone next month, next year, or what we're gonna do. Okay, or put a plan together. You know, it says, all right, I'm gonna start on this today, and in 5 years I'm gonna come back to this, and we're gonna keep working towards this. You know, your plan gets altered. It's like your so-called New Year's resolution. You know, people in the world make New Year's resolution on January 1st, and come January 5th, they done broke their resolution. You know, and if not by the end of the month, or you know, by the end of the year, they hadn't kept their resolution. But these people were so adamant in their conquest for, you know, what they trying to conquer. You know, that it's just unreal, you know, when you think about it. Like, who does this? Who plans, you know, generations and generations after they dead for something they would never see, you know? But, like I said, once you know, you pair that, you know, their so-called agendas and, you know, their descriptions of what they do and all this stuff and who they are to the people that they talk about who's the wicked and the devil in the Bible, it's clear as day who these people are, you know? It all makes sense. You're like, oh, okay. You know, now that so-called, fairy tale character that you've been imagining and people have been feeding you about a devil and this and that, you know, all of that go out the window and it all makes clear sense because you actually, you know, it makes the Bible, you know, more, not to say realistic, more realistic compared to the fairy tales you've been told, you know. Understanding this and you know, comparing the Rothchilds, trying to make sense of the Rothchilds, the only way to make sense of them and their plans is to compared to the scriptures and the people that they talk about, the wicked in the scriptures, you know. And the only way to understand and to accept like the devil, you know, and who the devil is to, like I said, get rid of that what you've been taught already, like, you know, that little red creature with a flappy red tail and pitchforks and a horn, you know. You can't really get down with that, you know, nah. But when you put that to these evil, wicked people here, you know, you'll be like, okay, that sounds exactly like what you're describing to me right there, you know. I hear a lot of people, these so-called atheists and stuff like that. A lot of the reasons I believe that, not to say that they atheists, I know why they atheists, because, you know, they're not even, this thing's only given to Israel, you know. But nevertheless, you know, sometimes their explanation for this is and that. It's like, okay, I think I know where you went off. It's your understanding and how somebody explained this to you. If somebody explained it to me like that as well, I would just think it's a fairy tale, because the way you you regurgitating it to me, you know, you want me to believe in some little red creature that's flying around with wings and a pitchfork tail and a pitchfork and got little horns and he floats on your shoulders and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I don't really believe that either. You know what I'm saying? But like, you was gonna bring out, you know, like how the scripture said about the wicked and the things that he would do, you know, and the things that the devil would do, you know, things like that. And you look at the type of things that's going on in the earth today, like with GMOs, chemtrails, artificial intelligence, 5G, all kind of stuff like that. You be like, what kind of human being thinks of shit like this, you know? You be like, you one sick, diabolical creature. Like, what the hell done crawled into your mind? Most people either A, worried about paying bills, B, trying to get some pussy, C, trying to make some money for whatever other reason they trying to do, or trying to just get seen. These people over here talking about, look, what kind of chemicals we can put together to sit here and slowly kill off the people. And they'll be like, you have to be some kind of sick, demented motherfucker to even think about some shit like that, you know? But nevertheless, you know, there's people that fulfill those shoes, and like the scriptures say, that basically would be the devil, you know? This is why you got to learn and read and pray that the Most High give you this understanding and try to figure out, not to figure out, but that he lets you know, what these mysteries are, you know, and do your due diligence. But nevertheless, it says, back in verse 16 again, it says, for he said, because Yahweh have sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation, okay? And we're going to kind of get into that a little bit. Go to Psalms. Yeah, well, I'll get this already. Alright, here we go. We all know this here. We're going to go through it again. It says, Psalms 8:3. It says, verse 2, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult. They that hate thee lifted up their head, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. Okay? So here we talking to the, talking about the enemies of the Most High. It says, thine enemies, okay? And they that hate thee. Okay? These are the people that, that hate the Most High. And we're going to get into some of these names here. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Okay? So what is they motive, They plotting against the Most High's people. And who's the Most High's people? Okay? Israel, the Israelites. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay? You have enemies. You have people. There ain't no conspiracy. Well, there is a conspiracy. There's just not a theory about it. This is a fact, and it was written about in a book that would surpass all the other things on the planet Earth. The one thing that has survived throughout all times is just this book, and this here conspiracy against you, It says, they have taken a crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones, okay? So the scripture is telling you that basically these Edomites, and for this lesson, these Amalekites, these Jewish people, okay, they over here plotting on you all day, every day. This is what they spending their billions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars on, over here plotting on you. This is the world's greatest secret, This is what they wake up doing, and this is what they go to sleep doing. These sick Jewish people, the ones that, everybody's in the uproar against, is these people, and this is what they doing, And, you go on YouTube and you see all these, what regular people would consider conspiracy theorist channels and stuff like that. The majority of them Edomites, right? And these Edomites is getting oppressed and all kind of stuff like that, and they all down because they're getting chemtrailed and GMO'd, and they're getting fluoride in the water and type of stuff like that, and they being affected by that, and they getting robbed of their wages and taxes and all this and that, But basically, they innocent bystanders, They just innocent bystanders because really, it's their own people who planning and plotting to genocide and take us out and oppress us, and destroy us. They just, like I said, they innocent bystanders, So, those people are super vexed. I bring that out to bring this out, The children of Israel, we not even really looking into that, You try to bring out these so-called conspiracies and stuff like that, like the chemtrails and stuff, to our people, and our people be sitting there man, I don't really care about all that. I'm like, but wait a minute, this is actually mainly for you, They over here chemtrailing everybody else just to kill your ass, And if you don't believe that, go drive through any hood in America and look up in the sky and you look at the chemtrails over there. And then go drive over to the white people neighborhood and you see if you see any chemtrails over there. It sounds crazy, but you just go look, But nevertheless, we're going to get back into the lesson. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Again, they planning and plotting on your ass. There's a reason why you don't know what your history is before you went into slavery. There's a reason why you don't know what your religion and not what your religious beliefs and your God and your power was before slavery. There's a reason you don't know which country in so-called Africa you came from. If you was to go back to Africa, more or less to say, we was, we not from Africa, but they have this thing that if you don't like it here, go back to Africa. Then it's like, well, if I did want to go back to Africa, where would I go in Africa? Africa's a continent. Which country would I go back into? I don't know that because your dumb ass then took that away from me too. So it says they have said, let me go back up. Verse 3, they have taken a crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more remembrance. Okay? And for you low-level scoffers, you'd be like, wait a minute, but Israel's on the map right now. There's a state and the state of Israel, blah, 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 blah. That's part of this being implemented right now because of the fact of, they took us away from that landmass, over in 70 A.D. with the Romans and, in the Africa, transatlantic slave trade and here in America, obviously, But with them sitting in that seat after 1948, once they got over there into that seat, and claimed to be Israel, that would, solidify in the eyes of the rest of the world that nobody else was Israel but them, If we was to try to say we Israel, like, wait a minute, we already got Israel over there. Y'all can't be Israel if they Israel, So they still to this day perpetrating that same lie that they somebody that they not, and we, we not who we say we are, So, people say there's no evidence of this Bible and stuff like that, but they don't see it in their eyes. They just don't understand what's really going on, This could be paired perfectly with Revelations 2 and 9. I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and they are not, But it says, verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Okay? So it's basically like Pac said, me against the world, It's the children of Israel against everybody else, because everybody else is in confederate, They consulted together with one consent, They all then voted, and the votes is in, like, what, it's us versus you, They're confederate against thee. They all together, Says, and they're going to name who it is. It says the tabernacles of Edom. Okay? Now we read earlier that Esau is Edom and Mount Seir, and Esau dwelt in Mount Seir, So the Edomites, it says the tabernacles of Edom, Edom and his kids, the Ishmaelites, okay? And that would be the damn Arabs and Moab, Chinese, and the Hagarenes, the Africans, And basically, here you go, you got the people that was involved in the slave trade right here. You had Edom, the buyer, Ishmael, the more or less like the capturer, the conqueror, and the transporter. He the one who rounded us up and moved us from one side of Africa to the other side with the sub-Saharan slave trade, which was before the transatlantic slave trade, And also Moab, you can deal with them with the Silk Road, But, that being China, going off into Asia, and the Hagarenes, the Africans, the ones who, was the ones trading. Verse 7, you got Gabal, Ammon, and Amalek, okay? Amalek, again, is who we talking about, is the so-called Jewish people, These were the people who financed the slave trade, They financed the boats and all of that stuff. The Philistines, the inhabitants of Tyre. So we just wanted to get up there on verse 7. It says, jump down a little bit. Verse 12. Okay, now, so they basically just kept naming more people, who was involved in all the people who was confederate against the children of Israel, okay? Now, verse 12, it says, who said, let us take ourselves the house of God in possession, okay? So, again, they basically came together with one consent. The whole world, this the world's biggest secret. This is the one thing that's got the whole world fucked up right now. If this secret was to get out, all the oppressed people would be no longer oppressed, and all the people that's doing the oppressing can no longer oppress nobody, and they got to go and pay their dues, The biggest secret on the earth, and the one, mass resource on this planet Earth is the Israelites, That's the world's greatest resource, and also keeping them dumb to who they are, because you can exploit them, You're going to get basically all the work, all the creativity. You're going to get basically your connection to the Most High, because the Most High going to be dealing with his people, and then you got them in captivity. For example, how was all the old civilizations built up, by them having the Israelites basically enslaved from Egypt, Babylon, Greece, Medo-Persia, Rome, today's Babylon, America, when we was in slavery, we built up this nation, And that's how it was done. So it says, who said, let us take to ourselves the house of God in possession. And also, let me jump down. Okay, that was it that we wanted to grab in there. But anyway, that was, going back in on how Amalek, and the things that they would be doing, also with Esau, and they confederate, They go sit down at that UN meeting, and then they lobby for the so-called state of Israel and all kind of stuff. But all the stuff that they be doing, talking about Israel is going to be a one state and them pushing for expanded borders, that's just further solidifying or getting their roots further deeper planted, basically saying that they are who they are, trying to put that mask on, trying to basically, they didn't pull the trick on everybody, and they trying to make sure that they got you fully fooled before they can go ahead and pull out. You know, they're like, damn, are they really looking that way? Can I steal, you know, like a baseball? You know, they trying to steal a base. Like, okay, I done took a step. He ain't seen me yet. I'm gonna take another step. He still ain't seen me. Like, oh shit, I might just steal this here base. You know, and that's pretty much what they doing now. Why they keep coming out with these stories about people attacking Israel and their past and all this and all that, making up history. You know, and because people are starting to buy it now. You know. And they trying to cut off that remembrance of who we are. And again, this is why the Most High is having this such hatred and disdain for these people, you know. For one, they are kinfolk. They are brethren. This ain't like, you know, not Amalek, but a Hamite doing this to us. This ain't quite like an Ishmaelite doing this to us, although we kind of related to Ishmael, but they ain't our damn twin brother, you know. Esau is Jacob's twin brother, you know. And Esau did, you know, he didn't vow to basically kill Jacob, you know. He had that perpetual hatred for him, you know, which basically, you know, got him all fucked up, you know. Let me go ahead and grab that. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 1. I'm starting at verse 1. Ezekiel 35:1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. Okay? And like we read earlier, Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. Okay? Mount Seir is Esau. Edom. Edom is Esau. Okay? So here he's talking to the Edomites. He's gonna say he's saying prophesy against Esau, basically. Talk in layman's terms again. It says basically go out here and tell the so-called white man what I'm about to tell you. You know. It says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say to it, Thus saith Yahweh power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. Okay? The Most High said he against, you know, Mount Seir, or Esau. I will stretch out my hand against thee, and make thee most desolate. Okay? So, the Most High said, look, I'm about to basically, you know, long story short, I'm about to just fuck you up, you know? But, you know, and it's justified. We just read about it in Psalms 83, about those that hate thee, thy enemies, and those that hate thee have taken a counsel, you know, crafty counsel against thy people and thy hidden ones, you know. They basically starting this. They the ones, you know, they the ones over here poking the dog, you know, they poking the pit bull, you know, through the fence. Now the pit bull done got loose on their ass, you know, now they want to start crying. Nah, you can't cry now, you know. People always want to say, you know, oh, you want to preach hate, or you a hate crime or hate group, or y'all are just racist and this and that. Nah, Esau started this, you know. Esau had that perpetual hatred for Jacob, you know. He said, let me grab that, because that's going to line right up with this scripture. That should be verse 40. Boom. Right here. This is Genesis 27 and verse 41. Hold on. Yeah, verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. Okay? So, first of all, the so-called white man ain't got no room to be talking about nobody with a hate crime or you know, a hate group, or, you know, somebody being so-called racist, because he's really the father of all of that, you know. It says, and Esau hated Jacob. So Esau, the so-called white man, first hated the so-called black man. He was the first one to hate, you know, one side to the other side. So-called white man first hated the black man, so-called black man, okay? The so-called white man is the so-called, you know, Esau and his sons, you know, they're the so-called first hate group, you know. It says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. Not only did he hate Jacob, he was hating on Jacob because he was just a hater. He hated him because he was jealous. You know, in modern day Jake term, they call that a hater. Like, you just hating on me. You just jealous, you know. He hated his brother because he was just a hater. That's just what the fuck Esau is, you know. He's the epitome of hate, you know. He's the embodiment of it, okay. And we the embodiment of love, you know. We love life so much that we'll sit there and we'll go, you know, wage a full scale war against some folly or some wickedness, because, you know, for instance, we love life so much that, we go out on the highways and byways and we be chanting down Babylon because it's full of wickedness. All it's producing is death, you know. So yeah, we chant down Babylon, talking about, we want this place to be destroyed, and destruction in most people's eyes is a bad thing, but, it's like a doctor. We want to destroy the cancer cells that's destroying you before it kills you. You can't say that just because you're killing something mean it's always bad, So we the embodiment of, of love and stuff like that, although on a surface level it don't seem like that, Oh, you guys are a hate group. You hate the so-called white man. No. We hate evil and we love good, And this is just his characteristics, thus says the Bible, and you can see the fruits that he's bearing as he's walking the planet Earth, Just check his history and his rap sheet. Nevertheless, it says, verse 41 again, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, okay, so this is what this motherfucker, and, he done made it, how they say, I made my mind up, this is what I'm going to do. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob, okay? And again, not only was he the first hater, the first so-called, not to say racist, but, the first, real hate crime and all that, hate group people, was Esau. But he also said, then will I slay my brother, So he's actually the one trying to commit this so-called crime out of his hatred, Just going back onto this fucking hypocrite who always coming up with all these groups and crime type of things that he's the one perpetrating, Talking about a hate crime and hate speech and hate groups. And that's his definition. That's what the hell he is, according to it, like I said, his rap sheet, and also according to the scripture. And these words Esau, her elder son, were told, and these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah, and she went and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold thy brother Esau, as touching thee, does comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Okay, so this is that perpetual hatred that Esau has had for Jacob, from the beginning. When his father was still alive, he had all this hatred for Jacob, because he was a hater, That's not what I wanted. But so Esau was the first with this hate shit, He the one jumped it all off. It's not that we doing anything against him or anything like that. If anything, we trying to defend ourselves and chanting him down because of all the oppression he's put on us, But this is also what the Most High said, we just doing what the Most High commanded us, and he wrote about this a long time ago, in which we're going to basically read out, what we going into and what we dealing with, from our perspective and rebuttal to what he even did already. This is Ezekiel 35:1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith Yahweh power, behold, Mount Seir, I am against thee. I will stretch out my hand against thee, and make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste. Thou shalt be desolate. Thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Okay? Basically, again, the Most High finna come through and fuck Esau up. And he gonna let you know why he finna fuck Esau up. Okay? We just read about it in Genesis 27. Salakia. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Okay? So the Most High not, he ain't, well, the Most High could just hate you just because he hates you. That's up to him to, decide on. But he's gonna give him a, a so-called, well, a real legitimate and fair, how do you say, reasoning for his judgment, It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, okay? Because not only did you hate Esau, not only did Esau hate Jacob, he had a perpetual hatred, Perpetual meaning we can get into it. See, we got the screen record up now. That's why I like this. Now we get into a new, we got to be on the internet for that. Okay. Let's go back. But nevertheless, perpetual just basically means ongoing. It's forever going, It's a perpetual motion. Something in perpetual motion, the sun, the orbit of the sun and the earth. The earth is in perpetual motion and rotation, That's perpetually moving. They have a such thing as a perpetual time clock, you know. But it says because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, you know, or like a revolving. There's another good synonym for, you know, it's like a revolving door. It's just keep going on and on and on and on. It just never ends. You know, he had a perpetual hatred, you know, from those times when Isaac was still breathing on his deathbed to this day. You know, they still mainly genociding us in our neighborhoods, not any other neighborhood as heavily as ours. You know, this is because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity and the time of their iniquity had an end. Okay? So, not because he fucked over everybody else. Yes, Esau and Amalek then fucked over the whole rest of the world, but they really put it to the children of Israel. Okay? They ain't really doing it to nobody else but us mainly, to that hardcore extent, you know? And then you could say, oh, well, you know, the state of Israel is over there, you know, bombing the shit out of Palestine and stuff like that, and the Palestinians and this and that. Well, really, the Palestinians is more or less a trial run to what they're trying to do over here, you know. They have these little, basically, large-scale training facilities, you know, like in Iraq. Iraq was used as like a training facility for when they go for that martial law here, you know, and how quick they detained and shut down those cities and took over those cities, you know. But nevertheless, it says, verse 6, therefore as I live, saith Yahweh power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and I will cut him off that passeth out, and him that returneth. Okay, so the Most High is saying He's going to take Mount Seir, or the house of Esau, or Edom, the Edomites, off the face of the earth, basically. It says, and I will fill his mountains with his slain men. In thy hills and in thy valleys and all the rivers they shall fall. They shall fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee a perpetual desolation, and thy city shall not return. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. Okay? So the Most High is getting back into this perpetual. Since you had that perpetual hatred, yo, it's going to keep coming back on your ass, you know. He's basically got this perpetual hatred put back on him, you know. Now it says, verse 10, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Okay? So, like I said, these so-called Amalekites, these so-called Jewish people, you know, they took over the land of Israel, you know, and they basically ruling from the land of Israel as if they are the children of the Most High, saying God gave us this land, and this is our land because God gave it to our forefathers a long time ago, and you people don't have a land right over here, you know, which that was written about in the Bible as well, you know. The script, they like to go off the scripture that the Lord, Yahweh Shah was going to come back and put them back into their land and blah, 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 which they chopped that up because that's actually going to happen. But, you know, they didn't get over there that way. They went over there via airplane by the Balfour Declaration, which one of the Rothchilds basically signed that over, you know. Well, yeah, he pretty much signed that over, you know. One person gave them over this land, you know. But nevertheless, here it says, but thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Like I said, they trying to rule from that little land as if that's who they are, who they say they are, the children of Israel, you know, and the Most High gave them certain rights to everything, but that's not true. The other land that they claiming is, you know, now that land over there would be a representation of the Southern Kingdom, because that's where we was expelled from last. We was the only ones that was over there around that time, you know. There was some of the Northern Kingdom, but for the most part, they was all over here in the Americas. And when the so-called white man or the Edomites came over here, they conquered and took this land from the Northern Kingdom, you know. So these are the two lands, and now this is where they're ruling from, America and Israel. The big Satan and the little Satan. That's these two countries that they talking about. It says, verse 11, therefore as I live, thus saith Yahweh power, I will even do according to thine anger, according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them, which I have, when I have judged thee. Okay, so the Most High saying, look, like Scripture say, do unto them double, and reward her as she has rewarded you. Basically saying payback is a bitch, because they finna get right back what they gave out. Look at the words the Most High chose. He says, therefore as I live, saith Yahweh power, saying Yahweh power, I will even do according to thine anger. So look, I ain't gonna do it, well, if the Most High did it the way he wanted to do it, according to his own anger, it would be way worse, which this is pretty much kind of like that, but basically this is giving the analogy about how diabolical Esau was. It would have been one thing for Esau just to put a bullet in our damn head, but nah, Esau want to go give us a goddamn vaccine that's going to slow kill our ass, or give us like a radiation treatment to slow kill our ass, He get diabolical with his shit, The Most High say, I'm going to get diabolical with my shit on your ass. He says, therefore as I live, thus saith Yahweh, I will do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. So you got that I ain't gonna really get into that, because you see somebody fighting somebody and then they getting all into it like, why you making me beat your ass like this? And they fighting out of an extra anger. That's pretty much what it's gonna be looking like. Like, oh, y'all wanted to go over here and make gator bait out of us. I'm gonna show your ass gator bait, bitch. We gonna go fishing for Leviathan with your bitch ass. Then we gonna bring your whole ass back and we gonna do it again. You see what I'm saying? That's what the Most High is saying. Like, according to thy anger, according to thy hatred, according to Esau over here doing this. Oh, this motherfucker want to take my birthright. I'm gonna show this little nigga. I'm gonna put him in slavery and shit. We gonna be doing the same thing to him. Oh, this nigga wanted to steal our birthright, and then lie and say we stole the birthright from him. Bitch, we gonna kill your ass. Bring you back, kill you again. Like most I say, I wound and I heal. I kill and I make alive. And there's none that can deliver out of my hand. See, we gonna get diabolical on Esau's ass, because that's what he did to us. And the scriptures say, look, reward unto her as she has rewarded you, double unto her, It's a righteous thing to recompense those that trouble you. The scripture reiterates this throughout, a lot of the scriptures, But, I like this part right here. It says, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Like, bitch, you gonna know my name, It's one of those type of moments. Sometimes you gotta kind of, it's already in Jake terms, we already speak like this, But, you gotta kind of kick the old English a little bit, but just, and I'll make myself known among them. Like, bitch, you gonna know my name. Like, imagine Muhammad Ali. Look, I beat him so bad he was saying my name. Where you think he got that spirit from, We the children of the Most High, spirit bear witness, But it says, I'll make myself known among them when I have judged thee. And thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and that I have heard all the blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying they are laid desolate, and they are given to us to consume. The Most High know about how you going to change your name under Israel, say you the so-called, or you the Israelis, the children of the Most High. He hear about that blasphemy when you know good goddamn well you an Edomite and the chief house of Amalek. You ain't no Israelite, and you know who we are, It says, thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and I have heard all of thy blasphemy which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying they are laid desolate, they are given to us to consume. Talking about some, look, well, we can take these Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans into slavery. We can do whatever we want to do with them. They like cattle. They goyim. They not real human beings. They 2/3 of a man or whatever, or 3/5 of a man, whatever. You ain't a whole man. We can do whatever we want to do to you. We could treat you like shit, basically, because the Most High gave you us His manifest destiny. It was manifest for us to come over and take over the globe and put you in slavery. The Most High said, look, says, I have heard all the blasphemy which I have spoken against the mountain of Israel, saying they are laid desolate and they are given to us to consume. The Most High hear all that shit you talking about us. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me, and I have heard them. Thus saith Yahweh power, when the whole earth rejoice, I will make thee desolate. And thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate. So will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it. They shall know that I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh power. Okay, so again, here we go again at the bottom. It says, it shall be desolate, and so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all of Idumea. So Mount Seir and Idumea are the same people. Okay, Mount Seir and Idumea. Idumea is more or less, you know, like I said, it's a Greek title for Edom. You know, I'd actually click on the word right about now, but I got my phone on airplane mode, so I don't get any text message or anything like that, or nothing to interrupt this video recording. I'm going to close out. I got a couple more scriptures. I know this kind of drug on way longer, but nevertheless, I'm trying to just get these precepts down real quick. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindermost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wert faint and weary, and he feared not Yahweh. It says, therefore it shall be when Yahweh. Alright, hold on. So we was leaving out of Egypt, right? You know, and we needed to pass through this land. And if I'm not mistaken, I forgot what the thing was. I think we was gonna pass through the land of the Amalekites, and we was like, yo, we'll pass through, and we won't eat or drink in your land, you know, and if we do, we'll pay you for it. Just let us pass through, you know. And the king of Amalek was basically like, nah, y'all can't come through here. Although we was, you know, basically like fugitives on the run, you know. And so, and them being like our brother, you know, or Amalek basically being a cousin, but his father Esau being the father to us, you know, Jacob's brother, you know, they were supposed to be our peoples. They were supposed to let us through, you know. And they didn't, you know, they was on that fuck shit, you know. They was on that, nah, I don't know you like that, but yo, we got the same granddaddy, bitch. Like, how you tripping? You know, we like cousins. Basically, we are cousins, you know. Amalek, you know, Amalek being Esau's son, and, you know, Israel being Jacob's sons, you know, it's pretty much like on the same level. They like cousins. You're supposed to be kinfolk. You got the same upbringing, you know. But apparently, whatever was in Esau, well, we know what was in Esau, but, you know, his upbringing didn't stick, you know. But it says, therefore it shall be when Yahweh thy power have given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which Yahweh thy power given thee for an inheritance to possess it. Okay, so this hadn't happened. It says, therefore it shall be when Yahweh thy power have given thee rest. Okay, so it says, you know, scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing, basically, come out of her, my people, for this is not your rest, talking about Babylon, you know. So we still in Babylon, we hadn't been delivered yet, you know, so this hadn't had to come to pass. And the Lord also said he was going to give us rest from all our sorrows in Revelation, I believe, 21. But it says, therefore it should be when the Lord, when Yahweh thy power has given thee rest from all thy enemies round about. And again, we still catching hell today, so this hadn't come to pass. And the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. And again, we're not in the land of Israel to possess it, you know. It says, thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. Okay? So, again, Amalek wound up, let me go back on up here to 14? That was 14. No, 17. Yes, it says, remember what Amalek did unto you by the way, when you was come out of Egypt, okay? grab another precept. Oh yeah, I remember where it's at. 24 and 20, is it? I think it's 24 and 20. I think it's, let me see. 24 and 20. Yeah, got you. Yeah. Next precept, the line right on up with that. It says, Numbers chapter 24, verse 20. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Okay, so we just read about how let me reread this. It says, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations. Okay, the first of the nations. We just read about how it says Amalek was the first of the nations. It says 25 and 17, Deuteronomy 25. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt. Okay, so it says he met thee by the way and smote the hindermost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not Yahweh. So it said also, remember Amalek and what he did. He was the first. The first to come up against you when we was come up out of the land of Egypt. Okay, when we first came out of Egypt, he was the first one to come up and pretty much attack us, and he took basically like the ass into our parade. You'd had the front mighty men and everybody up front, the strong warriors up front, to take care of anything that was coming to meet us. Women, children, and the sick, the elderly was all behind everybody that that was the front line to protect. And that's what he came up against us. But it says hold up, let me go on back up. This is Numbers 24, chapter 8, Numbers 24, verse 18. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. And Israel shall do valiantly. Okay, this hasn't happened yet. This is the future of Esau. He going into slavery. Then he's gonna be utterly destroyed. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up this parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Okay, he gonna perish forever because of the fact of what he did. He came upon us when we was at a low time, when we was weak and we was on the run and we was fugitives. When he could have helped us out, being family, and he didn't want to help us out. But these are the so-called Jewish people. They have the nerds be talking about what happened to them and they so-called Holocaust, but and how everybody should be helping them out. They don't want to help us out in our calamities. But they know who we are. Let me throw these two last bonus ones in real quick. Dealing with this. Actually, I'm gonna turn my internet back on too. We're gonna have to get into this. Where is it at? Amos 5. What's in Amos 5? Yeah. Oh shit. Shit. Alright. Alright. Right here. Amos 5 and 26. Ye have borne the tabernacles of Molech and Chirin, your images, the star of your God which you made to yourself. Okay? And I want to also read this other one. We're going to get into this here deal. It should be at the bottom. Right here. Acts 7 and 43. Yea, took up the tabernacle of Molech, the star of your god, Renpham, figures which ye made to worship them, but I will carry you away into Babylon. Okay? Now when you go into this, okay, now when you go into some of this stuff here, you try to figure out what this stuff is talking about. This is just talking about a star, group constellation. Now we're going to get into a different word down here though, but to break that down. When you get into this is pretty much that seal that these Amalekites is walking around with, the so-called Star of David. Okay. Where's that? Now we're gonna look up. There was another word. That wasn't the other one, but we can look it up here too. When you go into this word, it says a name of an idol worship secretly by the Israelites in the wilderness. Okay. Now when you go down, where is it at? Right here. So we wanted to get into was I think we could read it in the other. Amos better off, but it says the name of Saturn right here at the top, but we're gonna go get it over here in Amos. Hang on, because we want to look at it. I wrote it. Let me go back. So I give this. Which one was it? When you go into this, right here. Okay. So it's still talking about proper noun with reference to a deity. Okay, an image, a pillar, statue. Babylonian god of planet Saturn used to symbolize the Israelite apostasy. So both of these images is talking about the symbol to Saturn. Okay. And you go back into this. Here we go. It says the name of an idol worshipped by the Israelites in the wilderness, the planet Saturn. Okay. Regarded by the Phoenician Shemitic people as an evil demon to be appeased by expository sacrifices. Okay. Now, is that all I wanted to grab out of here? But nevertheless, it says, you know, this is one of these signs. It was basically a sign of Saturn, right? And also, when you get into, I wish I had that image. I could pull those images up. I'm not too good with this high tech right quick. I'm just getting higher and higher tech up. But I wish I could pull up an image of the inside of that star. You know, I believe it's a hexagram. One is the shape that's in the middle of the Star of David, right? When you look at that shape, it's pretty much like the same shape that's on the top of the planet. I think it's Saturn or Jupiter. One of those planets has this weird shape on there as well, but nevertheless, this is all dealing with that same little symbol, you know. But when you go into that sign of Saturn, it's pretty much another way of going into Satan worship. They're going back into worshiping Lucifer, you know. This is what these people went into, you know. It's a long little study off topic to where all these symbols and stuff go, you know, that like, oh, this sign means this and that sign means that. There's no real biblical source of like, okay, well, this sign, like we just read here, you know, in the Bible they don't tell you about like the sign of Saturn, besides like here, you know. But you would have to read more or less an outside source to find that in history, you know, where they talk about here the planet Saturn, you know, find the root word, all of that. But when you go into things like the history of the sign of Saturn, the seal of Saturn, and stuff like that, what you will come to a conclusion is basically these people is just worshiping the devil. You know, this was just another sign and symbol to worship the devil, pretty much like today how they have the Baphomet head. Again, okay, that star and the Star of David is pretty much interchangeable with the same star, you know. It's just they have different, you'd have to see a presentation with when you overlay these images on top of one another, you know. And when you do transparency, and you overlay them on top of one another, more or less to say. And when you do that, you'll be able to see that pretty much these are all the same images, you know. It's just certain points that they're trying to connect, you know. And for an example, if you was to look up the image of the Walmart image, you know, that, or the Walmart logo, that little yellow sign, that same sign is basically the Baphomet head, you know. And if you was to take that symbol and place it over top of like a pentagram upside down or the Baphomet head, they would all line up the same with all the same points all in the same spots, you know. Same with that Star of David and that other star, the 5-pointed one, you know. But nevertheless, and sometimes if you look at the Israeli flag, you know, sometimes they actually do throw a different star on there than like the so-called Star of David, but you know, you'd have to just catch that by chance sometimes, you know. But nevertheless, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out with this. We done went on, you know, quite a while. But this was, you know, kind of a lesson Lord, and it was edifying about who Amalek is in the Bible, or who Amalek is in the world, and who, you know, these so-called Jewish people are, and the Rothchilds and stuff like that, who the Rothchilds are according to the scriptures, you know. The Rothchilds are the house of Amalek, you know.